Our next speaker is Julie Interrante. I've known Julie for a few years, and this is a woman that not only walks her talk, but shines her spirit wherever she goes and is doing fantastic work in the world. She's a speaker, minister, and writer. She's the author of The Power of a Broken Open Heart. Julie brings humor, compassion, and a deep respect to all she does. We're so grateful for you, Julie, and we're glad that you showed up today. So put your hands together and let's welcome Julie Interrante to Sax Soul Talks.
So ever since RJ asked if I would be here today and told me what the topic was, I've been kind of walking around with, what does mission accomplished mean to me? Like, how am I going to carry that? What do I want to say about mission accomplished? And you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. As lots of you know, I have worked in end-of-life care for most of my adult life. And so I kind of filter everything in some ways through end of life and through the lens of we are temporary. And so the first thing that came up for me was, well, I suspect that mission accomplished really only really happens at end of life. That at some level, that is an accomplished mission. And in aging, I am beginning to understand and embrace in a new way that accomplishing something is really becoming me. And that as I live my life more presently and in a more conscious way, accomplishment just is something I get to visit along the way. That mission accomplished for me is really about my own evolution. Who am I becoming? How do I soften? How do I become more present? And truth be told, for me, it's really been about how do I become more human? Because I don't know about you, but for a really big part of my life, I was pretty certain that if I got spiritual enough, I would be able to overcome being a human being. In other words, I wouldn't have to hurt. I wouldn't have to feel scared. I wouldn't have to get anxious. I wouldn't have to stand in front of a room of 50 people and cry. But what I'm coming to understand and to actually experience is that is it. Because as I show up as me with you, now I have community. Now I begin to touch that deep place in me that is the loneliness that I believe every single one of us lives with every day, all the time. There is an existential thing that goes on in us as human beings, and often I think of it as it's this part of me that just longs to go home, right? And of course, I worked with the dying, so what the heck, right? I mean, a lot of times I would have been happier to say, I'll come with you, right? Rather than having to stay here. And yet what I'm finding out as I age, that my mission in life really is me. It's who am I? Am I here? Am I present? And then as I get present, I actually begin to see what I might label as accomplishments. And I happen to be experiencing one of these moments of what I could call accomplishment as we speak. I have long held a vision. When I was back in ministerial school, really almost 20 years ago. My project in school was that I had a vision for a center that was all about conscious dying, conscious living, and interaction between people who were so-called living, probably not knowing they're going to die soon, and people who were dying who knew they were going to die a little sooner than the rest of us, maybe. And I have been carrying that vision for no less than 20 years. I have attempted to make it happen. I have prayed. I wrote a book. I worked in end-of-life care. I became a minister. I held on. I let go. You know, I questioned it. I hoped for it. And probably 2 years ago, I decided that perhaps it was just mine to carry. That I was just carrying the vision. That it wasn't that I was actually going to be the one, part of anything that would bring that into the world. And yet, at the same time, it was always in the back of my mind and the front of my heart. But I really kind of put it down. And about 2.5 months ago, I was having coffee with a good friend of mine, and we were having a conversation. And as we were talking, she says to me, you know, I have this good friend who is planning and developing a hospice in Sacramento for the homeless. I said, what? And just like that, she said, oh my God, it never occurred to me to hook the two of you up. I said, well, would you? Right? So she said, no problem, I'll send out an email. Well, by the time I got home, I had an email from her introducing me to this woman, and I already had an email from Marlene saying, Julie, I was just on your website, we have to talk. And within 5 days, we were sitting down at lunch having a conversation about her vision. And I found out that she'd been working on this for a year already, that she had the county, she had the city, she had all of the healthcare organizations, she had everybody already on board. She was looking at purchasing a building. She is an amazing woman. Her name is Marlene Fitzwater, and we are in the process of developing Joshua's House, a hospice for the terminally ill homeless. We have purchased a building last week. Yeah. And this is like a dream and a vision and a gift all at the same time. I've become part of the board. I'm going to take a position as the director of the holistic care program in the organization itself. I actually get to be part of creating a vision that I have been carrying for 20 years. It's no wonder I'm getting touched today. And what a gift and an accomplishment in some ways, because I have been carrying it. I have been carrying the vision, but I haven't been carrying it alone, you know? So what all of this is telling me is that there's timing in everything. Because for all this time, honestly, I thought I was ready to do this. I thought I was ready. And I would stomp my feet sometimes, you know? Like, come on already. I can feel it, you know? It's like it's right here, it's on the edge, and yet it wasn't opening up. And many guides on the way would say, Julie, just give it time, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, right. You know, it's been a really long time. And as Marlene and I sat there, she told me her story, that her grandson had died on the street just 3 years ago, that she was very close to him, and that it was out of her broken, open heart that she decided that this was part of her mission. And Marlene, being who she is, which is an amazing, powerful being on the planet, this is a 78-year-old woman who stands about this big. And she is full on beauty and love and attention and intention. And what I know from having spoken with her and connected with her and felt our kindredness in this is that this is happening. And that together, along with others, Joshua's house is coming into being. And what I know so clearly is I wasn't ready before. As I stand here today, it's so clear to me that I wasn't ready. I have been being made ready. And what that reminds me is it's so important for me to trust that which is bigger and knows. That if I stay present and I listen to my internal voice and I carry my vision and I begin to enjoy the sound of my own voice, that life is creating itself. So I want to leave you with just one quick poem before I close, and it's called Unconditional. It's from a woman by the name of Jennifer Wellwood. Willing to experience aloneness, I discover connection everywhere. Turning to face my fear, I meet the warrior who lives within. Opening to my loss, I gain the embrace of the universe. Surrendering into emptiness, I find fullness without end. Each condition I flee from pursues me. Each condition I welcome transforms me and becomes itself transformed into its radiant jewel-like essence. I bow to the one who has made it so, who has crafted this master game. To play it is pure delight, to honor its form, true devotion. So I just want to say praise to the master who has this plan. So thank you for letting me be here.